The Martin PBM Mariner flying boat broke the rules long held by the United States Navy, winning a production contract in 1937 without a full-scale prototype and impressing officials across the service as World War II neared. 5 variants were eventually built, which played a significant role in some of the most critical operations during the Battle of the Atlantic and the Pacific Theater. Soon, the world's largest twin-engine flying boat attracted attention for its range, bomb load, ruggedness, and seaworthiness. However, despite being involved in several operations all across the globe, the type's most significant rival remained home. It was the Consolidated PBY Catalina, the same aircraft the PBM was always meant to succeed. The flying boat. In 1936, executives from American aircraft manufacturer Glenn L. Martin Company offered the United States Navy a new all-metal twin-engine flying patrol bomber boat. Leveraging their experience with previous flying boat and bomber designs, the company promised that the new aircraft would be a worthy successor or complement to fellow Martin aircraft P-3M and others like the PBY Catalina and PB-2Y Coronado. To test the aircraft's layout, Martin built a 3/8 scale flying model called the Martin 162A Tadpole Clipper. It was basically a mini version with a crew of 1 and powered by a 120 horsepower Chevrolet engine. Despite the service's standard rule of assessing a full-scale prototype before awarding a contract, the Navy decided to move forward with an order for a single prototype. The model had had a successful first flight in June of 1937, and tensions were rising in the Atlantic. As such, an initial production order of 21 Experimental Patrol Bomber Martin I, or XPBM-1, was ordered in December. The production PBM model was named the Mariner, as it was customary that all aircraft monikers begin with M. This design incorporated plenty of improvements over its supposed successor, the Consolidated PBY Catalina, including a deep hull mounting a gull wing that kept its 2 1,600 horsepower Wright R2606 engines out of the saltwater spray, in contrast to Catalina's use of a parasol wing and external bracing. The Mariner also had a significant speed advantage over the Catalina, as the aircraft, with a 118-foot wingspan and 3,000-mile range, could reach a speed of 205 miles per hour. Patrol Bomber. The PBM was initially designed as a patrol aircraft that could locate enemy shipping and attack with a 4,000-pound bomb load kept in an internal bomb bay, as well as torpedoes in later versions. Though crewed by 7 at first, during the war, the PBM Mariner crews consisted of 2 ordnance men, 2 radio men, 4 machinists' mates, and 3 pilots, a pilot plane commander, an alternate, and a navigator. As is common with flying boats, the crews would use a well-equipped galley and a bunk room for extended missions. The aircraft was also well armed to defend itself against the enemy, with up to 8 50 caliber machine guns. 2 were located in the nose, dorsal, and tail power turrets, with single guns in the waist positions. The first 21 production PBM-1s rolled out in September of 1940. The type entered service that same month, beginning with Patrol Squadron 55 of the United States Navy. Thrust into action. Before the United States entered World War II, the Martin Mariner was used to carry out neutrality patrol missions in the Atlantic, often alongside Consolidated PBY Catalinas. These mariners were soon patrolling the waters in search of German boats that threatened to disrupt the supply of war material to Great Britain and beyond. Then, after Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941, the PBM was thrust right into action. Widely used on anti-submarine patrols, the type sank its first German U-boat, U-158, on June 30th, 1942. The following summer, Germany's U-boat force waged an intense campaign in the Caribbean and West Indies against Allied shipping. By then, the German submarines had dramatically increased their anti-aircraft armament. As such, the Mariners were used in a subsequent Allied operation to diminish them, sinking 5 of the 10 submarines involved. The attacks came at a high cost. as the U-boat shot down 3 PBM Mariners and heavily damaged 8 more. Ultimately, 10 of the 20 submarines sunk by American patrol aircraft during World War II were by Martin Mariners. New and improved. During the war, the United States Navy ordered 379 PBM-3 models. This new and improved version incorporated upgraded 1,700 horsepower Wright engines, power-operated turrets, and other features that provided more strength for open ocean operations. The United States Coast Guard also eventually bought 27 of them. By the time Operation Forager, the Mariana and Palau Islands campaign, started in mid-1944, the PBM-3Ds were ready for action. They then flew anti-submarine patrol, surface search, air-sea rescue missions, and even some anti-shipping operations in the Pacific theater. As the Allies island-hopped their way towards mainland Japan, PBMs were never too far from the forward areas, and the aircraft were often seen moving into dangerous waters around islands that hadn't even been secured yet, operating from several bases at Saipan, Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and the Southwest Pacific. The PBMs further proved their value in combat during the Battle of the Atlantic, in which the flying boats operated out of bases positioned in the Western Atlantic, from Bermuda all the way to Brazil. The PBM-3 version also spawned a series of variants for specialized missions, including the PBM-3C, which had a more powerful radar and extra machine guns. In contrast, another variant, the PBM-3S, was stripped down for long-endurance anti-submarine patrols, while the PBM-3R transport version had its armor and armament removed. The variant supported distant submarine bases that lacked conventional airstrips. Latter years. The final version of the Martin Mariner, the PBM-5, made its first flight in May of 1943. In addition to more reliable 2,100 horsepower engines than the ones installed on the PBM-3, this new model included increased fuel, upgraded radios, radar, and turrets. As it entered service in late 1944, the U.S. Navy acquired 41 PBM-5s, with more delivered in the latter half of 1945. As the submarine threat subsided near the end of World War II, PBM Mariners operated in different key combat roles. These included nightmare raids, conducted under cover of darkness against Japanese shipping vessels. The flying boat also bombed shore installations on several Pacific islands and targets on mainland Japan, claiming a significant number of Japanese fighters along the way. If needed, this version could perform jet-assisted takeoff, an ideal maneuver for making short takeoffs in the Pacific Ocean sea conditions frequently encountered on B-29 Superfortress search and rescue missions. Because of this feature, the Mariners became the backbone of the Coast Guard's long-range aerial search and rescue efforts. The final variant of the Mariner was the PBM-5A Amphibian. Delivered in 1949, this version had retractable tricycle landing gear and R-2634 engines. Swan Song. A total of 10 PBMs were still in service by 1955, but they were all gone from the active inventory of the Coast Guard by 1958. After World War II ended, the PBM Mariner continued being used in different roles, including the early atomic bomb tests performed in the Pacific and Antarctica mapping missions. As time passed, most had their turrets fared over and became transports. Eventually, the type could no longer operate from newer, well-equipped airbases, and the lack of landing gear became too much of a liability. The service then ordered the construction of 36 PBM-5A amphibious variant models with a retractable tricycle landing gear. These new models entered service in 1948, and 4 more switched to the configuration from standard PBM-5s the following year. Operational Mariners saw a resurgence during the Korean War, where the type performed essential nighttime patrols along the Korean coastline, complete with high-powered searchlights. The aircraft continued in frontline use until 1952, when the Martin PBM-1, a twin-piston-engine flying boat with superb performance, began to roll off the assembly line, rendering the Mariner obsolete. The last U.S. Navy squadron equipped with the PBM, Patrol Squadron 50, retired its Mariners in July of 1956, while the last operational PBM Mariner aircraft was retired from the Coast Guard in 1958. The Mariner. In addition to the United States Navy and Coast Guard, Martin PBM Mariners were operated by Argentina, Australia, the Netherlands, the United Kingdom, and Uruguay, where they served until 1964. With changes ranging from soundproofing, heating, ventilation, a galley with refrigerator and stove, and fold-down bunks, the crews of the Mariner benefited from the aircraft in many ways over previous similar models. Despite being a powerful and reliable aircraft, the PBM Mariner was always in the shadows of its predecessor, Catalina, which was more well-known because it served in more significant numbers during the first years of World War II. Throughout the war, the Mariner helped in sinking a total of 10 Nazi boats, but many experts claim that had the flying boat entered service before, the PBM would have had much more impact on the United States Navy. Today, only one out of 1,366 PBM Mariners survives. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe to Dark Skies, and make sure to check out the rest of our Dark Documentaries channels for many more exciting stories from modern history and the technology that made them possible. Also, don't forget to give us a like and hit the bell icon to be notified of our newest content, which we publish regularly. Stay tuned for more.